Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we will cover and discuss the emerging issues of the peace agreement, which was ratified and signed on October 3, 2020, and the peace also in the South Sudan, and the shuttle diplomacy, which happened last few days from Juba to Khartoum and from Khartoum to Juba by Tut Golwak, the broker, the president of the negotiating for South Sudan, plus also General Burhan went 2 times to Juba and to Uganda, and General Hamiti also went to Juba. So it seems that there is something needs to be addressed and to be discussed, so that the viewers can be in a position to assess what is happening and what will happen. And that is why I'm here hosting 2 of our distinguished gentlemen, professors. Both of them are politicians, and at the same time they are also involved, both of them, in the financial issue, because peace and politics has direct effect on the economy. So I'm happy to host Dr. Abdul Halim Teman. He's the assistant president, Ummah National Party, and Dr. Samani Hanoun is also activist, and he's in financial and economic aspects in business, and he has been in many universities in Khartoum here, and also he's currently going on the issue of how to revitalize the resources of Sudan in food, like oil seeds. And so welcome both of you to this episode of Dialogue Horizon. I hope we can cover in this hour or so as much as we can. So let us start by the politicians first. But after all, he is an economist. But Dr. Abdul Halim Teman, assistant president, Ummah National Party, the historic party of Sudan, of course. Dr. Halim, people, they noticed that in the last few days or weeks, there was some kind of a shuttle troubling diplomacy. Now, these days, we have Tut Golwak. Tut Golwak is the president of the Sudan peace agreement in Juba, which was ratified 2 years ago, in October 2020. And at the same time, also visits paid by General Burhan, General Hamiti, to South Sudan and to Uganda. So can you just tell the viewer what's going on, what is happening? Is it a problem of because we know that even in Sudan, in South Sudan, they have a problem. They have a problem with some conflict between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar. But also here in Sudan, we have a problem also. We are unable to implement any or most of the articles of the agreement. Can you tell us in general what's going on in Sudan and South Sudan?
Thank you for having me. My greetings to my colleague, Dr. Hanoun, and to the viewers. Actually, we first of all must thank our brothers in South Sudan who have mediated and hosted peace talks in Juba until finally a peace agreement was signed and the gun was silenced. This agreement, basically after the signing of this peace agreement, we can say that the agreement is going well, since ceasefire chapter is well respected by all parties. This is one. So until now there is no fighting since the agreement was signed. But there are several chapters in this agreement. And we know that also the mediators, like His Excellency Tut Golwak, he will not, of course, and his role is not cannot be over by just signing the agreement. There must be follow-up, and since there is some troubles and discussions, and we expect that there is some difficulties, maybe, and because in the last Revolutionary Front conference in Rosaires last week, one of the outcomes and recommendations of this conference that they said that the Juba peace agreement is undivisible and it should be implemented as one package. And they said that also integration of the forces in one national army is one of the priorities. And they talked also who are in refugee camps and those displaced people, the disintegrated family, the orphans, and also the conflicts and the tensions between the tribes. The peace must put in priority these issues first. So we need peace between the social components of the troubled areas in Darfur, in South Kordofan, and in the east, in areas of Blue Nile, and all these areas. We need this peace to be translated to the common people there. So, and there is also some very probable challenges when it comes to the integration of these factions into a unified national army. So until now, the steps towards this chapter is very, very slow. And also, this conference also was held in the absence of two of the main factions. And General Khamis Bakr, the Federation movement, is absent. And also and justice and equality and movement is absent, although the Secretary General of the Revolutionary Front is Dr. Jibril, and he and his faction movement were absent. And also in for example, some of the known figures also, they did not attend this conference, like for example Dr. Muhammad Saleh Idris and Yasir Armand, Ustaz Yasir Armand, and these people, they were absent. So also for the peace to go smooth, these groups must keep or they must be united. Unity between them is a precondition for...
We will come to this. We will come to this. This is very important issue. This is very important issue. But Dr. Saman Hanoun, having heard Dr. Halim Tayman is saying some very important point. As if he's talking that the eruption, and also you are part of this and you know it, you are following it, the eruption of the deadly confrontations in Darfur, elevate signing the agreement, the peace agreement in Juba on October 2020, as if the agreement is all about power sharing. Those on the ground and those are really affected, till this moment they did not feel or they did not have the benefit of the peace agreement. So can you elaborate on this? Why only is it kind of just power sharing? Down to the ground, nothing happened.
Thanks to Dialogue Horizons, and I am happy to share this episode with my friend Dr. Timan. And first of all, let me to send my very sad condolences to the Sudanese peoples on the tribal conflict in South Darfur between Rizagat and Fallata tribes, these two main tribes in South Darfur, and also another condolence to the family of the Sudanese thinker Sirgador, who passed last 2 days. And Also, I take opportunity to congratulate the Sudanese people with Holy Ramadan, and will be the month of peace and month of economic recovery in Sudan. I hope that this will be realized during this special year. Back to your questions, that peace agreement actually passed through very tight times, like economic, like justice, and these three principles of the December Revolution are facing a practical exam because freedom and the principles of the December Revolution, the three principles, peace and justice, all of them, they are passing through very tight examination. One of the components, the peace issue, we are still asking whether we are living in war or peace. Now, if you examine the rate of war in Darfur and in different parts and even in the south, you will find the rate of war is increasing dramatically after peace signature. So people always ask whether we sign a peace agreement or war. War is increasing now, and still the effort failed. So one of the practical challenge today, why there is very active involvement and active movement between South and North, that will explain one fact. There is a problem in peace implementation in Sudan. The conference held by the Revolutionary Front in Algeciras and the recent trip of the main mediator or the chief mediator, Tut Gulwal, and the active movement of the president and the vice president. There is an active movement in the peace file that emphasizes one central fact. That means peace is passing through very tight condition. They have to relax this position by implementing part of the peace. Especially the environment is very breach environment for peace in Sudan, and this is mentioned several times by Volker, the convoy of the UN in Sudan. So the peace in Sudan facing a practical examination. In order to be implemented, Sudan is passing through a very tight economic condition. They don't have money to implement and even to integrate these forces in national armed forces. Tribal conflicts are increasing and rising, especially in Darfur. People of Darfur, the refugees, displaced, different stakeholders, they don't enjoy the peace. They are still asking about where is the peace, because people in the ground, they face something different. So peace is a big questions not to be addressed by leader today. Movement between North and South Sudan emphasize this fact. That means the peace file is facing very tight condition. International community stopped funding to the Sudan in order to implement the peace agreement. And other stakeholders, all of them, they are not in a position to support Sudan in order to implement the peace. Peace is facing very tight condition, like economic condition in Sudan. So I think this is why all the active players in peace process, they are moving around the area, they hunting opportunities in order to make relax in the peace file and also to make a development towards implementing peace. They fail to integrate the different armed forces, movement in the national armed forces because of lack of finance, and also the refugees, the displaced, the most vulnerable group and the most important stakeholder in peace process, they suffer from peace. They lack peace. They sometimes they face more war, like happened in South Darfur during the last 2 days. So the questions of the peace now again facing challenge, like the economic file. The Sudan, in order to make relax in this file, they have to take a practical step towards implementing the agreement of Juba, which is difficult under this condition because of lack of finance. So this file should move ahead. Most of the leaders of this movement, they complaining from very slow rate of implementations of the agreement. We have to accelerate the implementations of peace agreement are signed. The environment also facing very tight condition. You see, there are 2 or 3 tracks, always they frozen, like east track of peace, the north track, and medium. All of them are frozen now. We cannot talk about these tracks in peace agreement. So as if the peace start to die, because part of the body.
Peace agreement, you mean?
Yes. Yeah, because
Started to die.
this is 3 tracks, always whole. And also even the implemented tracks, they like the track, Darfur track, facing a lot of challenge. So with the government, federal government and international community, especially the UN, they have to take action because they have to protect the peace, not to be collapsed because of failure of finance. They have to support the peace agreement. They have to complete the other remaining tracks in order to maintain peace and also to support the economic and to overlap the political congestion in the country today.
Okay, okay. From what you heard from Dr. Sammani Hanoun, Dr. Halim Teman, he's talking about the failure, maybe the failure or complete failure of the peace agreement which was signed in Juba. But what about, is it adding to the failure what happened last week in Damadin or Roseris, the conference of a faction of the Revolutionary Front, and it is led by 3 VIP, 3 very important figures. Everybody, we cannot underscore or undermine their effect and influence in the peace. That is, that at least 2 of them, or the three of them are members in the Sovereign Council. I mean, Malik Agar, Al-Hadi Idris, and Tahir Hajar. They are very influential. What does this mean? Can you tell us about this, the conference, the Madin of the Revolutionary Front, and is it a split? Because we read on the public, also the media, the GEM, the Justice and Equality, they issued a statement. They said they are not buying. They are not accepting what happened in the Madina. Something they call not according to the regulations or to the statutes of the Revolutionary Front, and they will not abide by anything anyhow. It seems that it is a start of a split at a very dangerous time in Sudan and in the peace agreement. Can you elaborate? Just tell us, give what is your feeling, so that the viewers can understand from what you analyze, from what you will tell, they will understand what's behind the scene.
First of all, let us return to the situation, the individual situations of these different components after the 25th October coup. Yeah. And we know that at that time, at first, the 3 you mentioned, General Agar and Idris. General Hajar and Dr. Al-Hadi Idris, these 3, they were hesitant to join the new government after the 25th coup, as you followed at that time.
Yeah.
And eventually, after some maybe the negotiations, they accepted to join the government under the conditions that they will not swear on again, just as Dr. Hamdok did. But according to the observers, they think that these are a bit conservative or hesitant about their position regarding the 25th coup attempt. On the contrary, people think that the equity and Justice and Equality movement, and the Federation movement, or
Sudan Liberation.
The General Khamis Abakar.
And Minawi.
Minawi is the Revolutionary Front. There are 2 Revolutionary Front: Revolutionary Front A and Revolutionary Front B.
Okay.
Yeah, B is headed by Minawi, and it includes Lamin Dawood and Yakumi and some Tom Haju and the rest.
No,
This is two. This
Two,
is
Revolution
yeah.
Two.
This is Revolutionary Front 2, and there is a Revolutionary Front A.
The original, that one was the
I
original.
cannot say which is
Oh,
original,
I
but
see.
there are two groups.
Free and
The
fair.
first group is composed of General Hajar, General Malik Agar, Dr. Al-Hadi Idris, and Osama Saeed, and you have also they include, for example, anyhow.
Okay.
This is the first.
Okay.
So there are two groups.
Now there are
So
two
the
groups.
conference is held by the first group.
Held by the
Yeah. So in even this first group, people talking about two groups inside this group. They are subsets.
subset.
Yeah. I was just trying to clarify that in terms of their position regarding this revolution
Yes.
or coup of the 25th
The
October, people think that this a bit hesitant, while two factions which did not attend the conference, the GEM and the Confederation Movement, led by Khamis Bakar, these two,
Khamis Bakar and the other, the
GEM,
Jibril?
yeah, Jibril, Dr. Jibril.
Dr. Jibril.
People say that these are their position regarding the the coup, definitely 100%, without hesitation. Their position regarding their coalition with the military is very clear. So, given that, these are just observers say that. So, given these different positions, this may affect the implementation of the peace chapters, especially issues regarding, for example, unified army and resources also. I think peace should not be concentrated between the leaders in Khartoum. We need to mobilize resources in these areas and try to find funds, even internally. And let us begin step by step so that peace should be a social peace, not peace in Khartoum. And we don't blame these people who signed the peace agreement. We blame also the government, all the transitional partners. They must look at this peace as a chance, and in order that to be translated to those people who need peace really. And also the UNATAMIS mission in Sudan also, one of their mandates is also to support peace. So until now, we did not find a clear engagement of UNATAMIS concerning peace. They are a bit concentrating now as if they are engaged more in the political issues rather than
the peace.
The peace, because they have four objectives, or their mandate includes 4 tracks. One of them is peace. So I think my advice for you, UNATAMIS also, they should begin with peace and they should support peace, and there's a lot to do about peace. Even if the political issue is important, they should not postpone the issue of peace. And as Dr. Hanoun said, there are challenges. As time goes, these challenges may be very dangerous for the existence and survival of peace. Especially, for example, these factions, these groups, they have army in the peripheries. These,
that's what we
mostly they need clear budgets.
Okay.
And they need also they need equipment for like dressing, for example. They have their needs. This is one. So in the absence of any budget, what is expected from thousands of people who are holding guns in different areas of Sudan? At the same time, also the postponing the issue of integrating these factions into national army may open the chance for these people to compete, because they will compete for additional recruitment, all parties, I see. Because the more you recruit, the more army you have, the more
you get share of
you will have. And this also may complicate the issue as time goes by, for example, and as they are recruiting each day. After some time, for example, if this thing extended to another additional year, for example, by that time these people may recruit thousands.
Thousands, yes, so
yeah.
if time goes by,
Yeah,
you're right. You're
yeah,
right, I
and
agree.
this also may complicate. Also, there are some clear criteria for including these people in the national army, but those who will be out of this inclusion, they need to also to be managed and with a separate budget. So all these are difficulties that may accumulate when you postpone the peace.
Okay,
But concerning this conference, I think also there are some very very unique. People did not expect it that one of the recommendations of this conference to include, for example, the release of the political detainees.
Yes. Who were detained after the 25th of October.
Yeah, and they also talk clearly about the stop of violence against
the protesters.
Peaceful protesters. They also talked about starting negotiations between the parties. And they also launched, for example, also an initiative that also contains, for example, two phases. In phase one, they said that there should be a dialogue or negotiation between the parties that accept the National Congress. And phase two, they said that all political components must come together in order to negotiate and discuss the national issues to reach a comprehensive national settlement. So although initiatives there are many initiatives, but they send it a very clear recommendations. People say that in this area, as if they want to take another position or from the, because you are for example part of the coalition which is ruling the country now. It means that you are part of this coup, for example. But from inside, you are calling for release of detainees. And 3 of them are members of the Supreme Council. So whom you are sending, for whom you are sending this message. So you are in power. So this is as if they are talking with the tongue of outsiders. So this also clearly says that these people also, they are hesitant about if these conditions were not met, maybe they will take another position. Does it mean like that?
Okay.
So let us wait and see.
Okay, Dr. Samani, it is very important. We have to dwell a little bit on this issue, to stay on this issue, especially that the final communique of the deliberations, as Dr. Halim Teman said, it included very important, which are something good to the revolutionaries now in the streets. They are supporting, they are asking for stopping
violence.
Can you elaborate on what we heard from?
I think, before this, let just me to comment on one strategic mistake committed by international community. When they link the support to the peace, to the political arena, peace should take separate route. The international community should support peace if they were planning to implement peace in Sudan. And they have to isolate peace from any other aspects of whether political or economic. The fund directed to the peace should be financed to the peace programs, and this should go through humanitarian affairs rather than political. The UN, especially UN, United or UNITAMS, and the international community should continue financing peace. if they are planning to avoid violence in Sudan. Because as mentioned by my colleague, Dr. Timan, these people, they have armed forces and they have different groups of holding weapons, different parts of countries. So without financing these people, they can abuse the weapon and they can use for other purposes in order to hunt money they need to support their life. So I think one of the strategic mistakes committed by international community to link the peace programs to the political and what happened after October 25 and they stopped financing. So Volker is strongly required to make separate route for peace in order not to violate peace in country and to go back to the violence again. I think this is very important. So what actually mentioned right now, the peace environment is very breaching. And this is reported by different agencies that Sudan is passing through very tight conditions. The UN should take immediate action to support peace. Because as you see, there are, after October 25, there are two groups of the Revolutionary Front, one of the main component of peace in Sudan. Even they are fragmented into two groups, Group A and Group B, like Change and Freedom, A and B again. So that will complicate matter. And to what extent you understand, Sudanese people are not agreed upon one route. They have different route, different opinions, different arguments. So you need to take action before to face practical collapse to the peace agreement. Now you have 3 tracks almost stopped. Now even the groups that signed the agreement, now they create 2 groups. Now we are, strategically we are taking breach direction. That peace is taking wrong direction. In order not to continue to the collapse, the UN should take action. And they have to release funds to finance peace. Peace fund should go to refugees, go to the displaced people, go to finance these troops in order to be integrated in the national army. Stopping financing peace complicate the matter. And finally, will even lead to more complication in the political arena, because you see now how people, they tend to make a separate conference that 3 leaders, they support the protest and they ask for stopping violence. Other group B, they support the military coup. So even the Revolutionary Front, now they are not in one line. They have different arguments. That is something very dangerous, because these people supported by forces, and they have armed forces. The immediate action is important by the UN in order to release any fund related to the peace agreement. This is, I think, the first step towards making relax in this special file. Any delay will complicate the matter and will take people into war instead of tracking people to the peace. So we ask them urgently, and they have to save the time. They have to release money relating to the humanitarian. Under Humanitarian Act, they have to release any money relating to the peace agreement in Sudan, and especially to enhance peace in the country. They have not to stop money. Under even military coup, they have to finance peace and make separate route to finance this. Stopping violence against protest. This is, I think, qualitative development in the agenda of the Revolutionary Front. Part of them, they support the military coup. Other part, they take another route. They are asked to stop violence against peaceful protest. I think from here you will understand the people, they take different routes. And also there is so many complications. The final result, that people will go to the war if they let. So our urgent call to the UN, and especially UNITAMS, don't stop financing peace in Sudan. This is a must.
Why did they stop?
Stop it because of military coup.
Okay, so they will keep, as long as there is a coup, it will not.
Yeah, that will complicate.
Is there any other way? We will ask Dr. Halim Tayman. Yes, so as he said, he's asking the United Nations to resume its support. But it was not only United Nations, it was also the European international community.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you about UNAMID, the effect of UNAMID, which it was under Chapter 7, UNITAMS under Chapter 6, but both, I think UNAMID was a little bit better than UNITAMS. How can you evaluate the work of both missions in Sudan, UNAMID and UNITAMS, and in line with what Dr. Hanoun Samani Hanoun said about the emphasis bifocal is not on the issue of he's putting more weight on the political arena, and I agree, because the political arena, once it is not solved, nobody can support, nobody can. Can you elaborate on these conflicting views of between UNITAMS, UNAMID? UNAMID, okay, it was the government asked the United Nations to withdraw, and they withdrew. UNAMID replaced by UNITAMS. Just tell us about the UNAMID and UNITAMS and the call of Dr. Samani to resume assistance to the peace process.
UNAMID is the United Nations mission in Darfur.
Yes.
And so this mission was confined to the specific area of Darfur. And according to its mandate is to protect civilians.
Yes.
And also to help people to live their normal lives. And in addition, also to record any violence in the region.
Okay.
And in their report, they said that by 2020 they will withdraw from Darfur because, according to their evaluation, the situation is better, and that what is left in terms of security can be controlled or helped by the transitional government.
Okay.
This is how UNAMID ended its mission in Darfur. And although the transitional government failed to protect civilians, because this is every day it's reported from Darfur. Concerning UNATAMIS, it is a mission in entire Sudan, and the mandate is also different. Its mandate ranges from political support and supporting the transitional government in order to hold fair elections, and also to help in order to assure that Sudan at last will make political transition into democracy, and also it will help the Sudanese partners in that by helping the government in, for example, bringing to Sudan the necessary budgets for that. And also they should help in order for helping the refugees to get back to their homes. So UNATAMIS has a big mandate. It covers also probably a big, I think, chapter, because it will take time for this mandate to be finished. So this is concerning the UNATAMIS. So they are different. But at last, I think the people should always remember that international help can never be a substitute for our internal efforts. We should rely on ourselves, I think.
Yes.
Even concerning the resources, we should learn how to mobilize resources internally for even our peace. We should also try to solve our differences, and the international support should not be given the main role. Maybe it can help us in some areas, but definitely I personally I'm not supporting the international communities to take the first or the main role, and then we are given this subsidiary role for that. I think whenever
youth are being killed, this is number one. Number two, the government, no government now till this moment There is no government for almost 6 months. So how can UNITAMS bypass this and go directly to the peace issue?
No, historically speaking, since UNAMIS, through UNAMID, and now we are living in the era of UNITAMS.
Yes.
The 3 missions in Sudan, these UN missions, were failed to maintain peace in Sudan. If you flash back the history of these organizations in Sudan, you can easily discover that these organizations and different forms of organization were failed to maintain peace in Sudan, and actually now we are facing very deteriorated position in peace. What is the contribution made by these 3 missions? How they contribute to the peace and to sustain peace in Sudan? How many Sudanese people killed when these organizations are in Sudan? You'll find thousands of Sudanese people. The quarrels between tribes is still going on. Between different armed forces are still continuous. They failed actually to maintain peace in Sudan. And this is why peace became one of the central slogans during the December Revolution. Since 2003 and up to date, this Sudan experienced a wide range of organizations, international. This is why I assume or strongly emphasize the internal solution. Don't depend on others.
That's what
What mentioned by Dr. Halim. That is very long history. They can give us the clear result that we can solve it through our internal effort within Africa, within Sudan. I think this is more useful to the Sudanese people rather than depending on international organization or international community. International community actually, for very long history, faced to maintain peace in Sudan. And still now, we are facing an increasing war in different parts of country. So I think let us take a new route, new way, that to think about peace in Sudan. The UNITAMS, and as you mentioned, there is no government in Sudan for very long. So yes, I do appreciate that absence of government for more than 6 months will actually influence the inflow of support and assistance from outside to the Sudan. But under all conditions, we cannot stop financing peace. Peace is the must. And we have to continue to finance peace under all conditions.
The cost is high.
Yeah. If we fail to stop financing peace, we will go to catastrophe, definitely. And more tragic positions will be created in the country. So the international community, if we're planning to support the Sudanese people, they should not stop financing peace. This is our main argument. Peace should be continued because this is a humanitarian act. They have to go to the vulnerable group, to the refugees, to the displaced people, to fund the integrations of these armed forces to the national forces. Should continue under all conditions, should not be linked with the political environment or arena in Sudan. Okay. So, yeah, this is, I think, one of the...
Actually, so we have a few minutes, few minutes left. I want to just one last issue for both of you. We have about 4 or 5 minutes. The issue of the East Track. You mentioned East Track. One of the tracks annexed to the peace agreement. These 3 areas where they did not go for war at any time. They did not need peace. When you talk about peace agreement, no insurgency in north or east or middle, not like Darfur and Blue Nile. Anyhow, it was included in the Juba agreement. The area, the very track which backfired is the east. And we all saw that in the few months ago, the port and the lifeline, the road between was completely shut and blocked by a tribe not supporting the track. So can you tell us more about these tracks, and does this mean that no longer this peace track is in the east track in the agreement of Juba? This is for both of you.
Yeah. First of all, when you have areas, because these areas they are also have their specialities. But I think one of the main problems is that no additional consultations were held concerning these 3 areas before the agreement was signed. This is one. But even after the signing of the agreement, it was very clear for all observers and those people also who have signed this agreement that the local communities were divided regarding these tracks. So there must be a revision for these tracks for me, in my view, in order not to cause additional problems for these areas. But as I mentioned in the recommendations of the conference of the Revolutionary Front in Buenos Aires, they said that the Juba peace agreement is undivisible, which means that they will not accept
any change.
freezing any of
part.
these tracks, because one of the recommendations for some politicians, they said that, and we heard that these tracks can be frozen, and I think the national we must normally look at the big picture and not a compensation, because some of these local people in the East, they say that this peace agreement was meant to be a compensation for some of the leaders who were there. But I think there must be a need for, there is a need for a revision for these tracks, and that any talk about that this peace agreement is undivisible cannot serve the peace objective.
Okay, Dr. Samani, can you add? We have then,
I
1
think,
minute.
Yeah, thanks. I think the tracks or the East track should be considered in a separate paradigm, which is different from Darfur. And this is why people are sensitive towards this Juba agreement. People of the East Sudan, they always are talking about they have their own paradigm, their own way, and they have own problem, which are different from Darfur, from different part of country. So I think it is acceptable to go on having separate understanding to the East problem, and should be addressed by international conference in order to settle, separate.
So you are siding with Halim Teman also is to freeze this or to make some revision, and so we are both having the same idea. Okay, thank you, dear viewers, for being with us. Thank you, Dr. Halim Teman and Dr. Samani Hanoum, for spending this hour with you. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour or so. Hope to see you next week, and wish you good time in Ramadan. It should start tomorrow. Hope to see you during Ramadan, same time. Thank you and bye.